This particular question, I've gotten a lot of this question on Facebook and in the ministry WhatsApp, where people have asked, like, Ricky, how do I overcome pornographic addiction or masturbation? Maybe a person is like a chronic masturbator, like once or twice or 3 times a day, those kind of things. I've gotten this question a couple of times, and I think I wanted to make a video about it publicly. So, and I hope those people don't just see it, but also I've spoken about it even on a Facebook Live at one particular point on steps to getting out of this type of addictions. Steps that are not just tested, steps that actually do work, that you can start within the next 48 hours. But you have to make up your mind. I'm not going to do that. It has to be a very decisive thing. Sometimes people want to go on this whole thing of, I'm just going to fast. Some of these things, they need you to embed them within a habit. It's not just that you're going to fast and then it's just going to go away. You need deliverance. This is not deliverance. This is habit. It's a habit. You go around rolling there on the ground. They tell you are delivered. You're not delivered of nothing. It doesn't work like that. Okay? If you go and do your research on this, you'll see why this thing that I'm going to say works. If you go do research on YouTube, look at videos concerning neurology and stuff like that, and how the mind builds on ideas and strongholds. There's a lady by the name of Carolyn Leaf on YouTube. You can check her video. She talks about these things, like habits like that, addiction, pornography or masturbation. What it does is it becomes a stronghold. So you think of something, it creates a physical thread on it in your mind. So in the mind, it creates a physical thread. Then the more you do that, it creates another physical thread. You do it creates another physical thread. That's how your mind is built. So when you say a person has a stronghold over something, is that they've done this so much, they just act naturally. And that's what masturbation can come to, and watching pornography can come to. So overcoming that has to be established. You're not going to just pray about this one and then that's it. You have to build habits that go towards that. So you will remember that I mentioned this is something that you can actually start within the next 48 hours. So the first thing to understand, let's talk about their temptation. Do not allow the thought of sex or the thought of a naked person of the opposite gender or otherwise, even if you are either it's attraction towards the same, whatever. Do not allow it past the second thought. And sometimes if it does, you have to be very firm about that. Now, this is to yourself, okay? This is not like, people, no, to yourself. You have to be very, no, I'm not thinking about that. You have to dismiss it immediately. The first thought can come, okay, because it's a habit. You've done this. The first thought comes in. You think of a person maybe you're attracted to, or someone that you saw, a picture that you saw, and then you allow the second thought. Like, that. Don't let it pass the second thought. The moment that picture comes in, you have to repel it immediately. Immediately, the moment you had it, dismiss it. Do not let it pass the second thought. No, I'm not thinking about that. No, I'm not thinking about that. No, I'm not thinking about that. You have to be instantaneous, because then it goes, for some people, they are now at a point where anything tempts you. Like, you don't even need to see a naked person. It just takes people kissing on TV or a picture or something for you to remember sex, or for you to remember that pleasure towards the body. And so start right there, okay? Everybody has an easy trigger. By easy trigger, I mean, if you thought of this particular thing, or if you thought of this particular person, boom, the thought has got you, right? And so that's another thing. Dismiss that picture, that person, particularly. Dismiss in your head. Don't go there telling them, hey, leave that one. Okay? The temptation becomes worse the moment you tell someone. Now, by tell someone, I mean that particular person of desire. And so if you're a guy, now you start going up to this person of desire, you create a problem because now they might be struggling with their own things. And now you are two people. It's a big problem. And so stop it at the first thought. If it passes the first thought, the first flash of that, and then you entertain the second thought, dismiss it still. You have to stop yourself going further thinking about it. All right. Now, if you do that, if you dismiss the thought, it will dismiss the long-lasting desire to masturbate. Okay? And any form of pleasure that entertains that idea, whether be maybe you have a video or something in your phone, or you see something on Facebook, don't explore it. And I'll tell you one way that really did work for me to dismiss these things. The thing that I'm telling you, I can attest to, okay? Works. I don't watch porn. For years now, I don't watch porn and all that kind of stuff. And so instead of seeing a picture and then staying on it and just kind of like viewing it or a video, I'd screenshot it and create a later reward for it. I'll watch it later. And so because I'm not keeping it in my mind, so I'm telling myself, no, I'll watch it later. So I'll screenshot it or save the picture or something like that. Now, this is an important process of this because now the temptation is things that are in the public, right? Something you saw on Instagram or something. I don't use Instagram. Instagram is worse with that type of stuff. And so I would dismiss that particular thing. I would try and get out of the way, create a later reward. I'll come back to it. So I'll screenshot it or something like that. And so there's a point where my phone would be just filled with pictures like that or something like that. Now you tend to get work. You tend to get work and that's about it. It's just work. I just screenshot work or video that I saw or something like that within those lines. There's nothing that goes back towards that temptation. But I just create a later reward. At any stage, whether I've now passed the 48-hour period or what, screenshot it and I'll come back to it. And then what I do is then I track how long have I not looked at that thing. So even if I'm scrolling back and I'm looking for those screenshots that represent the work, right? And then I see it. I try and remember, wait a minute, when last did I look at that? And then once I see that I've passed maybe a week or two, then I delete it. That works magic. You have to create a habit that pulls you away from indulging that. You can do that consistently. Reject the thought, create a later reward. No, I'll screenshot it, I'll come back to it later. And so you don't reward it immediately. You keep other things occupying your mind. Before you know it, you haven't watched that. You haven't seen it in a couple of hours. And before you know, you haven't. So you don't entertain. And then before you know it, you would have passed a longer period than what was normal. And it becomes rewarding not having indulged it. So now you no longer indulge it because I've not indulged that in that long. And so you're more willing to now go the mile, right? So that's the first thing, okay? Don't allow the thought to stay for too long and also dismiss it as it comes, right? And if anything pops up that you're like, okay, don't dwell on it. Just create a later reward. Screenshot it, pass something. Tell yourself. And then when you see it again, you're like, okay, when last did I see that? And then, you might want to explain. If people use your phone, you might want to explain. For me, my phone was not used by anybody. It doesn't get used by anybody. There's a fingerprint. And so nobody's going to see what things I screenshot. It's just me who's watching that, right? And so So after a while, you're just going to realize, I haven't watched that. I haven't seen that. Oh, yeah, no. Now you can delete it. You created this anticipation. Hey, I'll watch it later. And so what happens is just time passes and I'm not doing thingy because I'm doing other things. I'm keeping myself busy and I'm keeping myself occupied. So those are the first two things to do. Number 3, if your addiction is at that level where you're going on these websites. I've said this countless times and I'll repeat it here. You're going on these websites and you're watching this thing. We need to create an environment where you stop going to the sites. You have to create an environment to stop going to these websites. I'm talking about practical examples. I'm not talking some wishy-washy stuff, okay? I'm not talking about someone who maybe does not even understand your addiction. Okay, I'm not going to be here listening to someone I don't know. They've combated it or they know what they're saying works. I know what I'm telling you works for real. I can't even tell you when last did a website like that pop up, And I hated the responsibility. This is another reason why I wanted to overcome that for the longest time. I hated the anticipation that the moment you type something, Google will suggest these websites you visited last. I hated that. I hated that type of burden. And now I can't even type the website when we are looking with someone or with friends and stuff like that. So I wanted to overcome it for those reasons and also for my personal reasons. And another thing is, if you become a chronic masturbate, you will notice that you tend to have headaches, or you feel it feels like your head becomes heavy. It's because that heavy thinking about this addiction, maybe once or twice or 3 times, it creates that type of a thing. It creates that type of an environment. And also, I'd advise against people that go out buying toys as well. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you have done that, create this routine and leave those things. Because what those things do, self-pleasure is a very big problem, because you can create an unrealistic expectation of sex. So you sit down, think about that, you'll notice why this becomes a problem. Okay? And so you can create an unrealistic expectation for sex or for pleasure. A lot of people, I'm not happy because you've created an unrealistic environment for that. You understand? We don't need to go any further with that. Those things are dangerous. They don't help because they are only creating an unrealistic expectation. So, as I was saying, we have to stop the constant visit to these websites. Why? Because the more you visit, the more you see other things. The more you see other things that you have not seen. You see another size that you have not seen. You see something that you think is nice. You're going to see something else, and then something else nice. Something else, something else. It's like seeing a new car, and it has this beautiful interior and whatnot, and you're like, wow, the way they put that, wow, the way they put this, the cushions, wow, they made them. You start to explore every other detail and everything else. And so when you visit these sites, that's why you keep going back. You're not going back because of the aspect of it's the new stuff. So that's going to hold you for a very long time. And so that's why you want to stop there. So how are you going to combat that? I'll tell you right now. The very same thing that I remember Abel Damina once said, and I came and I actually backed that. Yes, that thing works. What Abel Damina was saying works. You'd rather download it and keep it. Stop the visit to the website. The visit to the website is more dangerous because, it's more harmful because that consistent going back, you see new. Before you know it, you've spent 3 hours. People can spend an entire 6 hours of their day, 6 hours of their sleeping time watching those videos. No, man, that's not nice. That's not good. It's not productive. To giving those pleasures to that for that long, it's a very, very bad thing. So you want to escape this type of addiction very quickly. Okay? So start the exercise, okay? So let's start back. Start the exercise of dismissing the thought. Don't let it pass the second thought. And if it does, dismiss that one as well. No, 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 we're not thinking about that. That's how. No, we're not thinking about that. We're not thinking about that. We're not thinking about that. No, 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 we're not thinking about that. No, no. Oh, I'm not thinking about that person. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about that. You start that habit. No, dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. And after you've given yourself a couple of days room, like when you need a couple of days room, and once you've done that, you will realize that the thought is not so much. You're not getting that thought continuously. You get it once here, maybe triggered by something else. It will take much more difficult things in order for you to be, yeah, you will get those. But now because you've built this habit of dismissing it, you now start to gain control. Trust me, because the addiction has been that long, it can look like, oh my goodness, it will take forever. No, it starts with that small step. Okay? The second thing, when you continue dismissing the thought, if you see it and it becomes a temptation, the second thing to do is what? Create a later reward. I'm going to screenshot it. I'll come back. I'll come back. No, I'm not going to look at it now. I'm not going to give it more than one. I'm not going further than this. No. Create a later reward. Even create an extra step, as a matter of fact. Have a file locker on your phone. Take those things and file lock them. There's apps that do that. Have a file locker, put them there, and later. And then the file locker will create an environment where you just don't even go there. And then after you've noticed, you've not watched this thing, you've not opened this app after like 30 days, now you can start deleting them. You've now built a habit away from this thing. So that's what you want to do. And like they've said, I liked something that Karen Leaf once mentioned. You need a 30 to 60 day habit in order to build in a new habit. That's how easy it is. We make it such a big deal. You need to do that. You need to do that. It starts there. If you haven't gone back for this much amount of time, how do you think things like AA, of course, they have different systems like that. But how do you think they can have such a success when they're not doing all these things that we say fast and what? They're not doing all of those things. How do they have any form of success? This is how. It's because these are things that can be accomplished by building tenacity to dismiss these thoughts. Create a later reward you know you're not going to go back to. Don't allow yourself time where you're just idle. Don't create an unrealistic expectation of pleasure. Don't be overly anticipating pleasure. Overly anticipating. Because that creates that hold, and then you're just like, okay, I'm just going to give in. Because the more you think about it, the more you create in this environment, you just have to give in. I'm just going to give in. I give up. So those things, very important. And also, lastly, stop visiting the sites. Stop visiting the sites. There's that one person in your profile that you don't even talk to. They always post pictures that's suggestive, unfriend them. Or if not unfriending them, you can be a friend with someone and unfollow their posts, so they don't pop up as much. Block them on your status or whatever. Do that. Yeah, they're there. There's those people that post things that very suggestive. Yeah, block them for 30 days. Stop the stories showing. Because they don't post anything productive anyway. They just post things that remind you of that. So yeah, block that. Right? Block that. You don't have to unfriend them if they're a friend or something. You can just unfollow their post so their post doesn't just keep popping up. You start that journey, I'm telling you, you will see. You will see the results of it. And you will start to have a freedom and a control over these things that you just don't become tempted by everything. I started by small things like, I don't want to see people kissing on TV. It sounds silly, yeah. You just don't. And before that, before you know it, I just didn't want to see all of that stuff. And also, things like I just completely stopped even watching newer shows. I watched like old shows. I started watching shows from the 1950s, black and white television, you know, very wholesome family type of shows that you're not going to see any of that stuff at all, you know. And that also helped with that, you know. I'd watch The Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock's TV shows, and now, of course, I do like those type of shows. But over time, it then added to not having things that are just going to suggest it, you know. And also, I like different kind of shows. I like shows about crime investigations and police and, you know, fire police, like, you know, all those authorities type of thingy, lawyers and all those type of shows. Those are the type of shows that I like in general. I'm not into most of the shows that would have those things suggested every single episode. So those are some of the steps to take to escaping. And I am telling you, you will see yourself coming out on the other side, and you will not believe it. You will not believe that that's me. Yeah, it's possible to do. You just have to follow through. Just follow through. Dismiss the thought. Create a later reward. Don't indulge it right now. Refuse to indulge it right now. This picture, but refuse to be, no, don't zoom, nothing. Don't. You go on Instagram and it keeps suggesting these things in the search bar. Go hold the picture. Go to the 3 buttons. Not interested. Not interested. Every single time they suggest that. Not interested. Close the app. Open it again. It shows you that not interested. Not interested. Before you know it, like right now, I can go on Instagram, right? First time open. And then go to the search and you will notice I don't get those things. I don't get, my network is a little bit bad month end. I don't know, they throttled me a lot. You will notice it's church stuff. You got Joel Okepe, you got the Winlows, comedians, traders. Very little do you have things like that. I don't have it actually. You know, guys exercising, traders, business people, preachers, Mike, Ropo, House. That's on first open. You see that? They don't even suggest that stuff. On first open, let me close it. Let me close it and open. Right? Right, it opens. Let's go to search. You see? There we go. Just normal stuff. Pastors, refresh it. The Winlows, comedians. Go to a different post. Musicians. I think that's psalmist. I don't think I follow him. Yeah. Musicians, traders, pastors. That's it. That's about it. Guys, I can open it live and show you what Instagram suggests. Pastors preaching. That's it. So if you do that long enough, Instagram also stops suggesting that nonsense. They stop advertising that stuff because you're not showing interest towards it. They show it, hold the button, say not interested, and close. I can open it again, right? I can open it again. Let's go back, home page. Refresh, right? And then go to search. Refresh it. You see? 4 times, that's when they recommended one of the nonsense, right? So you come, you hold, and then you come down here. It has 3 buttons. It gives you the options, not interested. Boom. That's it. That's how you get rid of it. So it took 4 times for them, 5 times for them to even suggest anything like that. And then when it comes up, you just click thinking, not interested there, it's gone. It's gone. And so that's how you clean up your feed. You clean up these things that are suggestive, you block the ones that are overly, just block, remove them from your thinking. That's how we overcome those things, by not keeping it before our eyes. Even the Bible tells you that. It's tricky. Yeah, go at that if you do have that issue. If you do encounter someone who's dealing with that type of stuff, send them that. Send them that video. That person, that friend that you heard them saying, forward them the video, let them watch. You don't need to talk to me privately. No, you don't need that. Just follow what I've just said. You don't need to be coming and confessing that. No. Follow what I've just told you now. Because now you'll end up talking to people that have their own things that they're struggling with. And then now you're both talking the same language. It creates a very big problem. So be careful also with that. Be careful who you end up talking to concerning things like that. It's tricky. Y'all have a blessed day.